Today marks the 14th anniversary of Mordekaiser's OG release back in 2010. Since that day, I have mained only Mordekaiser. This makes me the world's first and longest playing Mordekaiser OTP. Now, in June of 2019, Riot Games deleted the original Mordekaiser and replaced him with a bronze level champion. And by that I mean he is extremely easy to play, his playstyle is completely linear, there is no skill depth, no skill expression to this champion. As such, the majority of the Mordekaiser players dislike the rework, and the majority of the player base overall loves the rework. Why? Because he's easy to pick up, easy to understand. Old Mordekaiser was not easy to understand. His skills were some of the longest skill descriptions in the game, and using your imagination to figure out how to make that playstyle work was very difficult. What old Mordekaiser had that the new Mordekaiser lacks, though, is a playstyle that transcended simple lane mechanics and macro. Mordekaiser was literally a warlord general, and if you wanted to be good at him, you were forced to be a leader on your team, because the best plays you could make with Mordekaiser involved a heavy amount of macro and teamwork. Getting Dragon, diving bot lane tower with the pet, getting the Mordekaiser Ghost, using your ally heal, and your ally needs to trust you and get enemy units inside of it. All of these things required coordination, and oftentimes in an environment where your own teammates don't even know how you work, it didn't work. But despite that, old Mordekaiser's win rate was much higher than the new Mordekaiser's win rate, okay? And especially higher ELO. You don't see very many high ELO Mordekaiser OTPs anymore. The 2019 rework pretty much eradicated them. Now, obviously, we've been trying to get old Mordekaiser back, and we had a couple of things working against us. A, there aren't many people like me willing to make anti-Mordekaiser rework content anymore. That has definitely been a hindrance. B, even though I still make the content, there's no place for me to really share it, because the number one place to go viral in the community, the League of Legends subreddit, has had me banned for the past 8+ years. And I have tried to get unbanned, and they will not unban me. So even if my fans want to share my content, even if my allies want to use the stuff that I proactively make to help the community see the truth of the rework and why the new Mordekaiser is not as good as the old, it doesn't matter, we don't have an audience. So we cannot depend on the community. So what's next? You could try appealing to Riot Games, but that's not going to work either, because Mordekaiser is currently technically more profitable than ever, because again, the player base that didn't understand how old Mordekaiser works, they enjoy playing new Mordekaiser, which means unfortunately they generate skin sales. So the new Mordekaiser is considered a success by Riot Games because he is profitable. Now, whether or not Mordekaiser would remain profitable if Riot Games acquiesced and reverted Mordekaiser, I believe it would be fine, because he's got enough attention now. People would actually examine him and think about how to work at him. But unfortunately, that probably will never happen. But I have a foolproof plan to get Mordekaiser back. And I intend to get him back for ranked games, not some strange server that you play outside of League of Legends, not normal games, not an entirely new champion. I have a plan to get Mordekaiser reverted. I don't need the community, and I don't need Riot Games. I can literally go over their heads, and this is how it's going to work. In late November of 2020, I started ideating a plan. So what many of you guys may not know is that after the 2019 rework, I left the League of Legends community, I left the YouTube community for League of Legends, and I left streaming on Twitch, and I pretty much left the League of Legends scene behind. And I started working on myself. I started working in the YouTube industry, okay? And I started working with the top YouTubers in the world as a creative producer, specializing in larger-than-life content. Yes, I have worked with the Mr. Beast team before. I was a contracted position. They brought me in, flew me out to the studio in North Carolina, special projects. It was amazing. And I've worked with other really reputable YouTubers as well. And so I'm the guy who, if you want to play a Steinway on top of a mountain, I'm the guy you call, because I do all the sweat equity and I do all the research and development, and I come up with amazing ideas that drive views and make money. All right? So because of this, I had an idea. And I wanted to find a way to make an obscene amount of money, okay? Because let's think about something for a second. What if I spoke perfect Mandarin Chinese? And I do. I'm on my way to that goal. 我会说中文. 我的太太是山东人. I've been working on that for a while now. So my Mandarin's getting there. And it's still a process, but we're almost there. What if I could speak perfect Mandarin? What if I flew to China with a lot of money? And what if I bribed Tencent Games to force Riot Games to revert Mordekaiser? It is very possible that that could happen, because the whole thing is, we don't think that new Mordekaiser would, we don't think that we should revert new Mordekaiser because he's making us money. Well, if I give you an opportunity to make money up front and give you a plan that shows old Mordekaiser could generate more skin sales, then that would make sense, right? So how would I make a lot of money? Because it's easy to come up with a plan like this, but here's my get rich quick scheme, okay? In 2020, I started ideating a project, and the progress I have made between then and now has been incredible. So brace yourself, because you are not ready for this. This is super left field. We're going to go after real treasure in the ocean, and we're going to make TV about it. All right? This is the big announcement, and it's I've been waiting to tell you guys this for a long time. In late 2020, as I said, I started ideating a concept, finding real treasure, and this was for a YouTube client of mine who was a treasure hunting themed YouTuber. And I started ideating, spent 8 months looking for the right historian to work with. The first historian that we ran across that actually got some traction was in charge of a project called the Port Nicholson, which had been sank in World War II. This shipwreck had already accrued over $7 million of investors. And unfortunately, the person in charge of the project had not managed those funds well, and all they had to show for their work was one rusty hand axe. And so the story was, this is a ship from World War II sank by a German U-boat. Supposedly, it had a secret war manifest of industrial-grade diamonds, gold bullion, and platinum bars. But here's the kicker. There's no real proof that it's there, but somehow he managed to convince enough investors to put $7 million in. And he bought a boat for $2.1 million, rented a $100,000 a day remote underwater vehicle that was not strong enough to withstand the currents at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. So because the currents were too strong, they couldn't maneuver this RUV correctly, and they were unfortunately unable to breach the hull of the Port Nicholson despite finding it. So they were unable to prove that there was treasure there. But they said, oh, we just made some mistakes. Now we've learned from our mistakes. We're good historians. We know our history. We just didn't manage the money well, because this is our first official project. Now we know what we're doing. We just need $1 million more. Well, here's the thing about this industry, guys. It is chocked full of people that love to tell a good story, but in the end, they just want you to pay for their retirement. Full of old men and good stories. And so I, being the discerning guy I am, I interviewed the guy. And unfortunately, he interviewed very well. I was very impressed with his acumen, his charisma. I was impressed with his genuineness. And for all I know, he really believed in the project he was doing, okay? And so then it became much harder to say, you know what, this project, it's not going to work out. And so what did I do, guys? I decided to do some extra due diligence. I looked into the Port Nicholson itself, started researching that specific shipwreck. If this guy can come to the conclusion that it's got treasure, why can't I? After all, I get paid the big bucks for research and development anyways. So I can apply that critical thinking to this project. And in my search, I found an article written by a living legend. His name is Dr. E. Lee Spence. This article is called Ghost Galleons, and in this article, he dissects multiple shipwrecks that have been famous for giving false positives. And in this article, he talks about why the Port Nicholson would never have had treasure on it, and why any claims that it did are simply wrong. So regardless of whether or not the people in charge of the Port Nicholson are scammers or just honest fools, I trusted the due diligence that this man had written because I looked into him. Dr. E. Lee Spence has an IQ of 185. He found his first shipwreck at the age of 12. He is considered a savant by his peers, a genius, probably one of the top 5 shipwreck researchers in the world. His research has been used to find over $3 billion worth of treasure over the past 60 years. If you look him up on Google, Dr. E. Lee Spence, type in the images, you are going to see somebody who looks like what Indiana Jones could have looked like minus the Nazis. Incredible guy. And I find out what his personal information is, and I reached out to him. And of course, this guy's a cynical old guy, and his first words are, "Who are you? What do you want? Why did you call me? And how did you get this number?" And obviously, I have to disarm him very quickly because he's on the defensive. He's been cheated in business before, and he's not about to be taken he's not going to be taken for a ride by anybody. But I let him know, hey, you saved our butts with the Port Nicholson article that you wrote, and I just wanted to say thank you. And apparently somebody half your age reading something you wrote is a very affirming thing, because he got very friendly after that, and he actually agreed to be our official bullshit detector moving forward. And then what began as a YouTube project evolved into something much larger, and I realized I was in over my head. We wanted to do this the right way, make it television. But I don't have the business acumen for that. I can't structure a company. But luckily for me, I had been building relations with a financial mentor of mine who helped me with my very first six-figure year. This guy is a former VP at Goldman Sachs, all right? He agreed to come on as CEO of the company. And so, after 8 months of looking for the right historian, I now had the all-star team to make this project a reality. And so for the past 18 months from today, we have been incubating an amazing opportunity. We are going to find real treasure in the ocean, and we're going to make TV about it. We currently have a multi-million-dollar production deal on the table with a major television network for season 1. We currently have over $500,000 raised by interested investors who want to be a part of this project. We have an award-winning production crew that's responsible for one of the longest-running shows on cable television. And we have a full crew already hired, and we've got money in the bank. And so the plan to get rich is closer now than ever. So I just want you guys to know that I've never forgotten you, and our justice day is coming. Just believe in me, and I'll keep you guys updated. Have a great anniversary, Mordekaiser. Happy birthday.